Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very pleasant evening to Dr. Mahbubul. So today we are from Group 9. We would like to present our presentation, which is the Japanese foreign policy since the end of World War II. Next. Our group members is Muhammad Zuhair, Noor Izza Syafiqah, Noor Masitah, Anis Shafiha, Noor Najwa, which is me, and also Nurul Syuhada. Next. First and foremost, I would like to explain briefly on the introduction of our assignment, of our presentation. So the Cabinet exercises primary responsibility for Japanese foreign policy as determined by the Constitution of 1947 and is subject to the overall oversight of the National Diet. And the Prime Minister is expected to make periodic reports to the Diet on foreign relations, each of which has a Foreign Affairs Committee in the upper and lower houses. Next. So for the post-war World War II period, the Japan concentrated on economic growth in the post-World War II era. So it responded flexibly to the US regional and global policies while resisting its own big initiatives. Adhered to the pacifist ideals expressed in the Constitution of 1947, referred to as the Peace Constitution, and took a passive, low-profile position in international affairs in general. I would like to add from the slides, which the Japan's position is considered as a pariah state, where a country may face international isolation or sanction of its policies and cannot be accepted. In Japan, the country is distinguished with two emerging political systems, which is the left, where they wanted a pacifistic neutral Japan, while the right are divided on either to continue the political system, like the pre-war, or proceed on the basic framework and continue the allies outlined in 1946 constitutions. So now I would like to highlight the doctrine. One of the doctrine that developing is the Yoshida doctrine in Japan's foreign policy. Some of the policies are continued, but some lasted to the end of the Cold War. In brief, Yoshida doctrine is named after its architect Yoshida Shigeru, a pre-war diplomat and four-time post-war prime minister. And there are three basic elements in this doctrine, which are: first one is the alliance with the United States to ensure the stability of Japan, focus on economic security. Second, overseas alliances to assist in the rebuilding of the domestic economy. And lastly, in foreign affairs, the preservation of a low profile. Next.
So I would like to present about the first principle of the Yoshida Doctrine, which is the continuous reliance on the alliance with the United States to ensure Japan's security. Next. The doctrine was based on the absence of military power, where Article 9 of Japan's constitution read as aspiring sincerely to an international peace based on justice and order. The Japanese people forever renounce war as a sovereign right of the nation and the threat or use of force as a means of settling international dispute. The second clause of the article is: in order to accomplish the aim of the preceding paragraph, land, sea, and air forces, as well as other war potential, will never be maintained. The right of belligerency of the state will not be recognized. So as a result of Article 9 of the Japanese Constitution, Japan depended on the United States military for their security, as they are being denied the right to war making. President Yoshida, on the basis of Japan's pacifist post-war constitution, resist numerous attempts by the United States to get Japan to increase its military spending. Next. So over time, Article 9 worked in the formulation of foreign policy as both a weakness and an advantage. The government was forced to accept the international environment as a given and hope the American security umbrella would hold up. On the other hand, Article 9 was being used as a key component of its return to international respectability to portray Japan as a nation committed to world peace. So there are three non-nuclear principles developed by Japan, which is: Japan would not manufacture, second one, import, three, and sell nuclear weapons. Due to the convenient juncture of the Article 9 and the American security guarantee, Cabinet resolution in the 1960s restricting defense expenditure to 1% of GNP, making the development of the three non-nuclear principles become possible. Next.
So next, the second principle, which is the promotion of a free trade system congenial to Japan's own economic needs. Next. The doctrine emphasized bilateral relation with the United States, and reliance on the United States was not only military in nature. The United States was Japan's largest trading partner during the entire of Cold War era. a major pillar of economic reconstruction between the United States and the Japan, and the growth of the important export industry, including consumer electronic, automobiles, semiconductors, and also high-tech materials. Japanese foreign policy has naturally put emphasis on economic policy instrument because of the lack of military force. Next. Trade and foreign investment have served both public and private economic interests. The search for natural resources to provide industry was of utmost importance of Japan economic quadruple in size between 1955 and also 1975. Resources diplomacy has favored developing countries that could supply oil, natural gas, and other essential industry raw material, such as Indonesia or the Middle East. In the 1915 and 1916, war reparation for Southeast Asian countries and South Korea paved the way for the trade and investment instrument that helped restore Japan diplomatic ties with its members. Next.
Next is Japan Foreign Aid Program. It's a good example of diplomatic dimension that can be seen such as promoting diplomatic and economic relations with the Southeast Asia, then gradually with other regions of the world. Even Japan is lack of military power, it became a powerful instrument for Japan. Next, Japan also became a main bilateral donor as an effort to establish alternative to military instrument as Japan wants to become a great power. Next. Japan also used the Japan national security as a significant economic factor and also established a policy through holistic national security that was formulated by the government of Ohira Masayoshi. It also included that not only commitment to the bilateral military alliance but also economic security, including the provision of assistance and other modes of economic cooperation. Next.
So for the third principle, which is maintenance of a low profile in international politics. Next. So the Yoshida Doctrine stood holding a low profile in the international politics. In 1952, Japan isolation was near absolute. The reconstruction of a place significant mean that international respectability was their main aims and goal. Most of the time, at the United Nations was one way to achieve this aim, and the government worked tirelessly to obtain membership to that body. Japan has been diligent to pay its due and meet its commitment to that body in its admission in 1956. Most of the time, its votes in the General Assembly have coincided with those of the United States, but for Japan, the UN is important in its own right. Unlike the United States, for example, public support for the UN and its related institution is widespread. Next slide. Other multilateral conferences have also been attended by Japan. Such involvement granted diplomats an option to over-reliance on bilateral ties with the United States, while comfortably avoiding claims of unilateralism. Next. East Asia has offered Japan the ability to engage its neighbor without raising the specter of wartime ties on issues unique to the region. The importance of the association ASEAN as a multilateral organization was recognized as early as 1978. Since then, along with China and South Korea have participated, the Japan have participated along them in the proceed to the next presenter.
So as a conclusion, Japan foreign policy showed a new development. It also strengthening the economic sector as they lack from military power. One of the reasons from Japan's quick recovery is from war trauma that was successful economic reform by the government. The government body principal concerned by the industry policy in Japan was the Ministry of Industry. The second reason that accounts of Japan's rapid recovery from World War II is the outbreak from the Korean War. So the Japanese economic miracle is known as Japan's period of economic growth. The Japanese economic miracle is known as Japanese period of economic growth between the post-World War II era to the end of the Cold War. During the economic boom, Japan rapidly became the world's second largest economy after the United States. So lastly, is Japan remains silent or low-profile country in international politics to secure its national interest and security defense. Japan's foreign policy goals during most of the early post-war period were essentially to regain economic and establish a credibility as a peaceful member of the World Committee. So that's all from us. Thank you.